hard or go home. The podcast is real. Here's your host, Grounded Geek.
Hey, thank you, deep-voiced man, for introducing another episode of the podcast is real here from World Gone Geek. I am Grounded Geek, as the man said, and we have a great show. We have a guest here tonight that I'm very excited to talk to, and I think you're going to love it as well. I want to make sure that we have a chance to talk about some things beforehand, though. I'm going to bring up, my good friends Utah and Aaliyah. Here they are.
Hello.
As we tend to, Utah usually has a gadget at the top of the show. So let's find out what he's playing with today.
Yes. Well, so today
you at home can just imagine what he's playing with, but on the podcast. So describe it well, Utah, because I just left that open for any kind of imaginary thing. We don't want that. So
what this is a actual Tyrannosaurus Rex. No, I'm just kidding.
So it looks like
it's a live Tyrannosaurus Rex. Where did you get that?
Tyrannosaurus Rex from Mr. DNA. He's in your blood.
That's right.
This is a mini version of a what they call the Candy Bong Z, which is a light stick for a K-pop group that my daughter and I are big fans of, called Twice. They're 9 very lovely and very talented women, and this may be the last time they tour, so I wanted to make sure that I could take Simi to see her favorite K-pop group live at least once, right?
Yeah.
All the big K-pop groups have light sticks of varying designs. It's basically a battery-powered LED light that can do different patterns and this, that, and the other, and I just have a small version of it, and it does little different things. It's, just a little thing.
So how was the concert? You guys had fun?
Oh my gosh, it was fantastic. I'm still kind of like on the high, post-concert high.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a combination of various things. Number one, being a big fan of Twice. They also, one of the members was having some anxiety and mental health issues, so she didn't perform their concerts in Korea, but she came over to North America and she performed. So we had the full.
Oh, very cool.
Full group of 9 members performing live, which hasn't happened.
She's
in 2.5
feeling better
years.
then.
She seems to be doing great, and she's getting a lot of love from the crowds. Like everyone's chanting her names anytime she's on stage or on the screen. So I think that helps a lot. And then also
Twice. I'm gonna have to
just
look them up on Spotify because I haven't.
You should, because there's some really catchy tunes there.
Well,
and
Rachel,
the fact that I haven't seen a live. I haven't been to a concert or seen any live performances.
How did that feel?
Yeah,
in over 2.5 years, and so it was electrifying. It was so incredible to feel that, because you don't get. There's a certain energy and vibe that you get from going to a performance of any sort, right? From the crowd and from the performers, and so that was incredible to feel that again. We were double masked. Everybody actually was great. Everybody in the audience was masked as far as we saw. Everyone had to have proof of vaccination. So that helped my anxiety level a little bit in terms of large crowds and small indoor spaces, because I still have that kind of anxiety. But the fact that everybody was so respectful about that, and it wasn't even a mandate. Like, because it's Texas, they're very lax about all that stuff.
Sure.
The venue just basically said, we strongly suggest and encourage you wear a mask, but you don't have to, and we're not going to enforce it.
And
but
most people
everybody
did
that
anyway.
we saw, and so that I think that speaks to the demographic of the fandom.
Cool.
More than anything else.
Are there 9 women in this group?
Yeah. Well, that's why I meant
that is the
9.
That is the. I thought you had said that, but now that
9.
When I brought it up on Spotify, there's a picture, and I'm like, there's a lot of people in one group. Now, do they play instruments, or are they all vocalists?
They're,
like, how does dance
all
and
vocalist, vocal, dance, rap?
Nice, cool.
So they dance. They have a backing track. They're like the boy and girl groups that we had growing.
Sure.
Back in the
well, I always wondered how One Direction. So Rachel was in way into One Direction.
1D, yeah.
I went to a 1D concert with her. Yeah. She's also really big into BTS, which is another K-pop group. And I've always wondered how groups like One Direction or the Backstreet Boys or New Kids or any of those decide who gets to be lead on this song. If there's 9 people Do they rotate through? Do they
Rock,
like
paper,
decide?
scissors?
Yeah, is there a rock? Because
It's just like BTS. They're it's interesting, and I'm sure this happens in American pop groups, and we just don't hear about it. But in K-pop groups, there are actually like roles, named roles, basically. So there's like a main vocalist, lead vocalist, main dancer, lead dancer, rapper,
oh
and then a lot of the times, I know BTS and Twice do this a lot, is they have line distribution. So like the best vocalist will probably get the most singing lines because they're the best singers. But they try and make sure everybody gets at least something in the song. So
yeah,
they definitely do a lot of rotation. But like for Twice, there are about 3 or 4 members that do probably the majority of the singing,
okay,
but they all get a chance to shine, which is nice.
yeah. Because like in a band with instruments and stuff, it's like
It's different.
you know what everybody's role is. That's why I wasn't
Right.
sure. But yeah, so they have different roles and stuff. That makes sense. I'm just like 9 girls. They all come in with songs that they've written, and it's like, we're gonna do my song this week. I get to be lead. I don't know.
And it's interesting, and I don't know, how it is with a lot of other groups, but they also put out a lot of content. They have like a kind of like a variety reality show that they put out. I'm sure and they've obviously taped it like last year.
Yeah.
But they have like a little reality show or a variety show that and a new episode drops every week. So like in between concerts or album releases, they're constantly pumping out content to keep their fans kind of satiated.
Yeah.
And in all the stuff, there's some like behind the scenes videos and this, that, and the other. They really do seem to be a family, and they've been together. They've been together since 2015, and even earlier than that, because that was when they debuted. But there was a lot of training involved before they debuted. So a lot of these girls have known each other for, gosh, at least half of their lives.
Jeez.
And you get that family dynamic for sure. There's definitely more than just, hey, we're just 9 talented people that are in a group.
Right.
They really do feel like a sisterhood, and that's sweet to see. It's very wholesome.
Cool. So you got their final show.
We got to see them in Fort Worth. They're actually their last show of their tour, North American tour, is tonight in New York City. And so I'm going to turn off my Discord because I'm on a Discord server of we call it the Twice Chord server, of a whole bunch of Twice fans from all over the place, and some of them are actually at the concert, and so it's the notifications are starting to fly.
I gotcha.
I can't be distracted because
come on.
Otherwise, I'm going to sit here and stare at live streams of the concert, and waving at Anyways.
All right, Aaliyah, what have you been up to since we saw you last? Anything exciting? We haven't talked about your dating life in a while.
Oh yeah. So what's his name? Was it Tony?
You just put it out there.
Don't put it out there.
Tommy?
I don't remember.
Tristan? Tomas. His name was Tomas.
Gosh.
You don't have to talk about it. I just thought it was.
Aaliyah's dating life is non-existent for right now. For anyone that's listening that ever wanted to know.
But you're having fun. I saw the photos on Facebook. You guys went out. What is that bowling place you guys went to?
Oh, yeah. So it was if you guys are in Cleveland listening, there is a place in the Flats called
There's something in the Flats.
Social Club. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Social Club.
The Flats is crazy now, man. They turned it into like a big old. I had no idea.
Yeah. It's really awesome.
So they have bowling. What else do they have there?
So there they had a bunch of stuff actually. They had bowling. It was like an arcade area. Of course, they had like 4 bars.
Yeah, right.
They had 2 downstairs and 2 upstairs.
Isn't there like a little concert venue there too? Like
yeah. They have there's a little stage there where they do live music. It's an eatery. They had a pool table upstairs. We did the bowling and the pool.
It looked like it was your own little private 2 lanes, right?
It wasn't supposed to be that way though. Like the people that had signed us up for the bowling, I guess they just really liked me and my friend. So they ended up giving us our own little section. So
No dating news, huh? Mhm.
No, it was a female.
Oh,
Guys.
okay.
It was a female.
Well,
That doesn't mean anything.
I-
She might be
you're
interested.
right. Well, either way, we took it and we ran with it, but we just had fun, and then that was one of the things that we were really doing. Just I've been volunteering at church a lot, so on the production team there, helping them out with the camera and stuff. I did that this morning. Gosh, I was up at like 7:30. Up very early to go and help, and that's been really great. And then honestly, just going to different restaurants and trying new foods.
Just living that life.
Yeah.
Food,
Trying
good.
to,
taking
Good stuff.
pictures of the new foods.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pictures of the
Got to
new
take
food.
pictures.
Got to take the pictures. But we started doing like a food journey, like a food vlog, I guess you could say.
Oh,
A
flog.
A flog. Yes, a flog. I'm sure that's a food item in some other country. A flog.
A food log.
Yes.
I guess it would be a vlog.
Yeah.
A food.
So is it out there somewhere where people can subscribe?
Yeah. What the heck?
Or you just do? Is it just a project you guys are working on?
No, it was on my friend's Instagram. I think we're gonna make like
something informal then. Nothing like,
yeah, very informal, but we might start like our own little TikTok.
There you
or
go.
something like that.
Jeez, yeah. Holy
to
cow.
where
And then
people
you got to share it on here.
But I've been trying to do work on like my animations and use that creativity, I guess
Nice.
you could say.
Look at
So
you.
that's kind of what I've been up to. And then as far as things that I've been watching, I've been binging Pretty Little Liars.
Oh,
I don't know if you guys are familiar with that show, but
I know the
because
show. I don't watch it
I never
though.
found out who A was.
Oh,
it
well,
came
don't
out
say.
when I was
Oh,
It came out when I was a
well,
kid, and I got so
okay,
annoyed
okay.
with
Well,
trying to
all right.
having to figure out who A was every
Don't
single
say.
episode.
Don't
I know we're liberal with spoiler alerts for things that have been gone that past, but we actually know that at least one person. Have you seen it, Utah? That show?
I've seen. Yeah. I've seen.
You watched all of it?
I didn't watch all of it.
Okay, so then we don't want to spoil because
Don't
I haven't
spoil it
I haven't
for me.
watched even a single episode, but I've always seen the commercials and it's like who is A, and that made me interested. I just never, I'm always watching something else, so that's why I've never gotten to that.
Don't get me wrong; it is
It's
obviously
Kaiser Soze.
Yeah,
it is corny, but it's also really good.
That's fine.
I like mystery stuff like that. But
it seems like they were having a good time with that show. Like people, it was just like just kind of doing crazy stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It looks it's entertaining. It's not highbrow stuff, but
Well, I want to make sure that I let people know. So I've been doing some different like charitable things recently. Most recently, we had the Night to Shine, which is a special needs prom. We did it virtually, and I DJ'd and MC'd that, which was a lot of fun. Great night. Just awesome time. Even though, we couldn't all be together this time, we did it virtually, and it was a blast. But this weekend, something even cooler is happening. Even cooler. They're both cool. I don't know. I'm trying to hype it up.
another cool thing.
Yes, I'm trying to hype it up. It's not cooler. It's just also cool. St. Baldrick'S is coming up for us here in Cleveland, March 5th. Many cities and where you might live, it could be different times. But what St. Baldrick'S is it is a charity a foundation that funds research for pediatric cancer treatments and cures. So some of you may know if you've been listening for a while, or if you don't, my daughter went through chemo during the pandemic. So at the beginning of the pandemic was also the beginning of her cancer journey, which was quite, something. And if it weren't for the fact that this kind of research exists and the treatment that helped her wouldn't exist. And so people don't realize that kids get different cancers. Like there's different cancers that only, that come early in childhood. A lot of the research money and grants from the government go to cure adult cancers because obviously there's a lot more of that going on and it makes sense, but very little is earmarked towards just that kind of research. St. Baldrick'S is changing all that. We do a lot of that research right here in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm doing cancer research. Cancer research right here in Cleveland. is done at the Cleveland Clinic. It's done at Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital, which is where I used to work and where Rachel was taken care of. That they get funded. They've actually gotten grants from St. Baldrick's. So some of the money that I've raised for St. Baldrick's actually came back to Cleveland. Not just me raising it, came back to Cleveland and helped people. Help people around the world because these cures and treatments go everywhere. Anyway, what is it? Why is it Baldrick's? They always do it around St. Patrick's, and you shave your head. So you raise money, you shave your head, and in solidarity with people who don't have a choice, who are going through cancer treatment. My daughter lost all of her hair. She actually did St. Baldrick's that year with me because she was determined not to let cancer take her hair, so she shaved it before that even started. So she was bald when St. Patrick started, or St. Baldrick started, and she hadn't even started treatment yet. But sorry, I start rambling in this subject because it's very important to me, and it means a lot. And I get a little emotional about it. Sure,
Yeah, totally.
but I really, really care about these kids at Rainbow. I worked there for 7 years ish, with if you count volunteer time too. Really love that place and love what they're doing for the kids. Met a lot of kids, said goodbye to a few. It's just really, it's really tough. And so it's really on my heart to do this charity, the St. Baldrick's type of thing. And I'm not going to shave the beard because my wife would kill me. But I am going to shave everything that's up here. And I haven't cut it since like January or February. So it looks ridiculous. Why I'm wearing the hat like all the time now.
I didn't see any what?
What are you looking for? It's just my head.
Oh, I see a little bit of hair up there. Okay.
I have hair. I still have a really good head of hair for somebody my age. That's what I think.
You do, Jeff.
Gosh, what is it?
It's
not even receding yet. I'm proud of that. Come on.
He's just coming for you because you can't.
I know.
Do his thing.
I can't. But
do what thing?
What? Oh,
it's like Jesse from Full House. That's how Utah is with his hair.
Gotta have it perfectly coiffed. I just wanted to use that word, coiffed.
Yes, that was a great word.
It's so funny because it's so far from the truth.
But anyway, St. Baldrick's is this weekend. And so if you'd like to support us, I'm going to make sure that in the show notes and the YouTube description, if that's where you happen to see this, or just follow us on at World Gone Geek, pretty much everywhere, Twitter, Facebook, all the socials, we're World Gone Geek. You can find out more how you can donate, even just a little bit, $5, whatever, it doesn't matter. All of that goes towards research to help fight pediatric cancer. I'm going to MC this event. I've MC'd it for the last 10 years. This will be my 11th year doing this. It's one of my, just like Night to Shine, this is one of my favorite days of the year. It is so great, and it's so fun to see all these people come out and do that. We're going to be virtual again also, but I will be down at Rainbow. Rachel will be with me. She's going to shave my head, and we're going to do that live for the event. But we need your help. If you're willing to donate, that'd be awesome. Again, the link is below. If you're listening on this podcast, it's in the show notes, but I'm going to say it too, just for the benefit. stbaldricks.org/participant/Grounded Geek. So there you go. Or you can just go there and look up Grounded Geek and you'll find me. I also started a team, Rachel's Lymphomies. Yeah, she came up with that, I guess. And so that's the team you could join if you want to shave your own head, right? And be a part of this, or go to a participating barber here in Cleveland. Please join. That'd be awesome. Yeah, you don't have to donate to me. Raise your own money for St. Baldrick's. All goes to the same place. It's all doing good things. So,
do they do anything with the hair?
No. If you have long enough hair to donate, yes, they will do the whole donation thing. They take the ponytails. That was what Rachel did the first time she did this. All she did was cut it really short and donated her hair. A couple years after that, she shaved it, and then just this, in 2020, she shaved it because she was getting ready to go through chemo. So, and just for a little backstory, like, Rachel didn't have cancer until 2020, and we've been supporting St. Baldrick's for 11 years now, which is just kind of, you never think about it until it affects you personally. But this is just something that we've always been cared about, and then it affected us too. So anyway, that's St. Baldrick's. We hope that you'll check that out, and we're gonna get the show moving. He's been sitting in here listening to all of our banter for so long. I was like, he's still here, thankfully. I was worried that I might look down there and he has disconnected. But our guest is a Cleveland native, so we've got a hometown boy here tonight who is also a software engineer, which fits World Gone Geek quite well. Is geeky enough on its own, but he decided he wanted to take it a step further. He's also a screenwriter, and he's worked on American Gods. He's worked on a Apple TV show called Calls, and now he is currently working on the origins of Blade Runner comic book, which is awesome. I love Blade Runner. I don't know if you guys know that. And here he is. His name, Mellow Brown. Welcome to the show.
Hey, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No, we're grateful that you're here, man. I finished volume 1. And volume 2 is about to come out soon, right? In just a couple weeks, right? For Origins, Blade Runner Origins.
Oh, thank you so much. The volume 2, due to the paper shortage in the world, is happening right now. But volume 2 is pushed back to March 22nd. It was actually supposed to be out this month. But there's a lot of reasons right now to support your local comic book shops.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that.
Well, now you made me feel really guilty because Utah was telling me how he ordered each of them individually, and I bought the collection, on Kindle because I wanted to get it fast and read it. But no, I will. I'm gonna have to go and start getting the individual. So, I mean, there's certain comics I gotta have. I gotta own.
Right,
so
right.
I may as well.
Just like the feeling and the smell.
Yes. I got boxes of them in here. I haven't bought a comic book though in several years. So yours, Mellow, might be the first one I've bought since.
Prices have changed.
Well, I will be honored. Thank you.
Well, so tell us a little bit about yourself. So you grew up here in Cleveland, and I would love to know a little bit about your journey to being a software engineer who writes screenplays and comic books.
Software engineering is actually something I taught myself. So that was kind of an interesting process. As a Clevelander who was like born and raised, was also in that seat of just like, I love Cleveland. I also want to take a swing for other places and other cities and things like that. And the first place that I landed at, due to that was around the time like the casinos were coming into Cleveland. They were just like, you're doing a good job here. We're going to ship you off to Baltimore, and was involved with building one of the world's first outdoor slot machines. And we got very lucky with that. Where that was like bringing in a ton of money. It was another horseshoe casino at the time. And then while that was happening, everything that was building up to like the Baltimore riots and stuff like that started to happen. And so I immediately left that job because I was just like, they were a part of the problem in terms of what they were doing to the area, and the governor was kind of using that business to kind of like do their best to gentrify around there. It's like if the Cleveland scenario would have went way worse. If we would have had like the wrong people in place, they were just like, let's just like steamroll everything around us.
Right.
So in the process of that, I was just like, I want to help this neighborhood, started cleaning stuff up, started rebuilding things like that. Was in like a bad place where I was just like, I don't know where I want to work. Ended up taking that over to New York for a bit, working in hacker spaces, while also working with Complex Magazine. And
Wow.
I got very lucky where they were just like, you could be our new Black robots and skateboard guy. And they threw me onto another podcast where a friend of mine was, and that was DJ Ben Amin, and they run a show over there. I won't say the name. I'm not going to promote another podcast while I'm on.
No, feel free. No, that's fine. We don't care. We don't mind.
But yeah, the podcast is called For All Nerds.
For All
We got very
Nerds.
lucky. Yeah. And we got very lucky there, where like tons of people in the area, they were like making a bunch of like Netflix shows are being made then for Marvel. So they're just like, we're going to throw Luke Cage and everyone on there and the showrunner at you, and just different showrunners for different TV shows that were filming in the area started coming in, and one of those people ended up being Brian Fuller.
Oh wow.
Nice.
And so that was a conversation that happened there where he also started to ask, like, what did we make of the first season, et cetera, et cetera. And this is kind of like the best lesson I could give to a lot of people who want to work in a writer's room one day. We were very constructive with how he talked about season one. We're like, these are the things we love. Here's some other stuff, and but this is how you build on from that. This is like how you how you can fix a problem, and you can make it not only the first season even better, but every season going forward. How you change the characters and things like that. And Brian Fuller was like, "Cool, cool," and he left. We're like, "We're never going to see this guy." And then next thing you know, he came back with uh, Michael Green with him, and Michael Green is the writer of Logan and Blade Runner 2049, and also
Wow.
American Gods. And yeah, and they were just like, "Well, congratulations, you moved to LA in 2 weeks." And they were basically telling me I was a staff writer on the show. I have not
Wow.
wrote a script before or anything like that. They just kind of threw me into the mix, and so ever since then, I have been living a very, I guess, Hollywood. I don't know. I'm a writer in LA.
That's crazy. Like
is-
that's just awesome.
That's amazing.
Now you were obviously a fan of all this stuff before, right? I mean, this is not like a new playgrounds for you to play in. You've been reading comics and watching movies and stuff like this for a while, right?
No, I hated it. Yeah, I've always been like a really big fan, and there's a lot of particular spaces that I love more than others that we haven't seen in media as successfully done as we have in other particular spaces. Like when I think of a lot of stuff that we could be doing that are similar to comics, like some of your best comics don't translate well to television.
Mhm.
And there are writing techniques in other countries and things like that. Like in Japan, they do a lot of the non-battle battle, where it's like you have Avengers level stakes. It's like you're intense at the same level as watching Endgame, but none of these characters have touched each other at any point, or
Right.
even been in the same room. And you end up with stuff like Death Note that uses that, or Squid Game that uses that. These characters don't have to punch each other or anything, but they're playing such intense games with each other's minds and using their characterizations as weapons that the tension is even bigger than a huge blockbuster. So a lot of those things I've been working to kind of apply over to my work right now.
Interesting. And so let's talk a little bit about. Well, I already mentioned that you're working on Blade Runner Origins. I want to talk about some of the other shows that you've worked on first, and we'll because Blade Runner is like the most current thing that you're doing right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. The one of the shows I want to bring up first is on Apple TV. It's called Calls, and we're about 4 episodes through that show now. Me and my wife. This is one of the most unique show. When I read the synopsis, I'm like, why isn't this a podcast? Because it's all phone calls that people are listening. You know, we're hearing these phone calls, and the story plays out through the phone calls. I'm like, why isn't this just a podcast? Like, why am I? There's no people to see in this. But the graphics and the way the animation
is really cool.
It's not animation like people. It's like lines and it is the most fascinating thing I've seen in a long time. One of the most unique ideas for a show I have seen. Tell me what it was like, kind of, and how you came upon be a part of this show, and what that was like working for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are 2 versions of the show, and one, like the one that you've seen, like most shows, is like built off of maybe another version, and the one I was on was the first version, and well, the second verse version, which I'll get to, uh, because a lot of like we kind of like built character and story, and it transferred over to the final version that you saw. Uh,
Okay.
the version that I worked on was with the creator himself, Timothy Hochet, and he actually has 3 seasons of the show already in France.
Oh wow.
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 And it's been incredibly successful there. He basically built a brand new horror genre for himself in the process, and the whole goal was to kind of like, what can we do to kind of like bring that into America with this particular project. So hearing about this from like my showrunner on that show, who's also a close friend of mine, it took him about a week to explain it to me. He's
It's
like,
unique. Like I don't think even my explanation just now, people are probably like, what are you talking about, Jeff? You just have to see it to know,
Yeah.
to
And
really
I just
like,
have to
you have to
watch.
experience it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
yeah,
Pretty cool.
no, you're fine. It was just it's a lot of that. It was a
Yeah.
lot of like him being like it. It's a horror show, but it's a thriller, but it's you only see 20% of it, and I'm like, what are we doing? Like,
20%. What?
Are
like I
you
want to
playing
work
with
with you.
me?
Yeah, but the minute I saw Timothy's short, I was just like, this. I need to be a part of this. This is such
Wow.
a unique and like this brought up new levels of existential crisis in me, and I didn't see anything on screen at all. And it, I'm like, I want to do that to people. I want to make people feel that way. So yeah, that was a really really wild experience, and my first experience working with Apple. It was really great.
Yeah. It's funny you don't think about just like the voices would be enough to ratchet up the tension with these little animations, but it does. And if I'm not mistaken, it seems to have said in the description that these are all going to be like they all are interconnected somehow. They're all because right now it feels anthology like. You know what I mean? It's like the
Mhm.
first four have been. I mean, the weird stuff has happened in all four. You know, but they don't right now appear to be obviously connected, but somehow they are. Is that true?
Yes,
Like a bigger story.
I can say for certain season one is.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the following seasons. I'm actually on a couple other shows now. So whatever they do over there, I wish them the best. But I remember from where I was at,
Yeah.
the stories are definitely connected.
Yeah. Well, folks should definitely check that out. Apple TV. It's fantastic. The other show that you have been, on that it was this. I have a lot of questions about this one.
Jake
was
is
a
kind of a Neil Gaiman fan, so
Oh my gosh, yes, Neil
yeah.
Gaiman and
So
Stephen King are
roll.
they're my favorite writers. Idol. I
So hold
idolize
on
these
to your
guys.
butt, Mellow.
No. American Gods was going so well. Going so well. There was some behind the scenes stuff that wasn't going so well, obviously, and I don't know how much of that you witnessed or can speak to, but
Hmm.
suddenly they just said, no, we're just not going to do this anymore, and left it at like a place that is the worst to leave it also,
It's
which
not
is
even a
really bad.
cliffhanger. It,
And then I'm on Facebook and I see ads from Starz saying, watch all 3 seasons of American Gods. And they're like still advertising this show. They're still bringing in subscribers with this, but they won't finish it. I comment on every one of them. I'm like, why are you advertising a show you didn't finish? Like, don't fall for this. Don't subscribe. It's not a complete story. So tell us about American Gods experience. And if you can, I know because Orlando Jones was helping write a lot of that, correct? Yeah. And there was
Yeah,
some tension, I think, right?
oh,
there's a lot of stuff I can't even legally say.
I had a feeling, sure. And that's
like
fine.
like how much I've witnessed, a lot of it. How much can I talk about? I don't know. It's like where we
uh,
are. There's
Sure.
there's yeah, where to start with that. So you're going to continue to see a lot of advertisements for it, and the
mm,
reason why is because American Gods is an expensive show.
Right. I'm sure.
yeah.
And Stars, after that first season, they definitely doubled down on that, and they weren't the only ones being the production company to the point where the production company may have got a little shy about it, and a lot of the issues that you saw happen with Stars may have been revolved around those problems, while at the
Mm.
Mm,
same time, if uh, say an investor is interested in having a show that is on the caliber of Game of Thrones for their network, they have to be willing to pay the price for Game of Thrones. So
Right.
it's and a lot of that discussion is not always easy to have, and so a lot of weird things can happen. A lot of changes in management can happen, which that show has had a lot of change in management. And if you may notice, every season feels a little different for that exact reason.
Yeah.
There's areas where the show is going that I've had long conversations with Brian and Michael Green about this, where they're just like, you never talk about it. And there's stuff that I have yet to see happen on television yet. Stuff that's so entirely big. It is I still think about it to this day, and it's been about like 4 years since I was there. One day, if I like quit the industry, I'm just going to be like, look at these scripts. This is how good it was.
Oh, wow.
This is how close we flew to the sun. So yeah.
Oh man, I would love to see what happened with that. The now, did you
like a feature memoir
with something like that? Had you read the book before? Like, was it, or did you have to read the book to start on the show? Like, how does that work when you're adapting something like that?
So for that particular adaptation, I had already read the book. I had also looked into like spinoff books and where things go. The spinoffs actually tell more conclusions as to where certain characters go as the war intensifies.
Yeah.
And we were laying down the groundwork a little bit earlier than the books may have intended to tell certain parts of the story. So that way we could kind of foreshadow what happens to characters in certain conclusions. I don't want to spoil the books for people who haven't read them.
Sure.
But a lot of main characters, very main characters that you would see on episode to episode, chapter to chapter in the books, don't make it early on, and then you're reading the rest of the books like, what am I reading now? And that is very hard for TV shows to do.
Sure.
To be like, we need new stars and like things like that. And we were figuring out very creative ways to actually have those discussions. And it was cool. It was a wild first experience on television.
I can't imagine
the chaos that was like. Unfortunately, a lot of reporters started finding out about all of this. So when I'm like brand new in LA, I'm still trying to find a favorite place to go to eat and get a haircut. I'm just like you working at Mellow, like that American God's room, and I'm like, I'm going to eat somewhere else, and like it was a weird year.
Yeah. Do you think if the one thing that we've noticed now with all these streaming channels and all these people making shows is even when a show gets canceled, that doesn't necessarily mean it's over. Do you know if there's anybody behind the scenes like still pushing to finish what they did, but somewhere else? Are they trying to move the production to another streamer? Have you heard anything like that?
I haven't personally. A lot of things you'll find with both writers and actors and producers is that the minute that you leave a project, it's like it never happened afterwards. Wow. In your mind. Wow. Like you and the reason why is just because it is, for emotional reasons, it's better to divorce yourself from that franchise in your head until someone gives you a call asking you to come back. And usually that's a very difficult conversation to have back, because you're like, I have severed that part of myself. Right. Wow. Like that part of me is gone. So not to say I do that with every franchise, but a lot of franchises, yeah. Like I'm just like I said what I had to say, and I definitely moved on.
Yeah. I love that book. That's one of my favorite Neil Gaiman books of all time. And so when that show was coming out, I was very excited. And I thought it was.
Didn't disappoint.
No, I thought it was pretty well. I mean, they change a lot of things, but sure, which you do a lot of times for television or any kind of adaptation. My only complaint or my only concern when they do that is if you're going to change it, like make it good, make it like something, it better be as good or or you're gonna, just do justice to the material. You don't have to do it word for word. That's my thing, and I felt like it was doing that. Like I was really enjoying kind of where this was going, even though some things didn't happen the way I thought they were. And then they just, oh gosh, like it wasn't over.
That's sorry. I was just going to say, but I think the hardest thing about writing in television right now is it's two things, and they're 100% connected to each other. If you create a new project and like an original concept, and you take it to a studio, they're like, "Oh my God, I love this. You should definitely go write Speed Racer." And like that's usually the case. They just throw you on. You make something original, and they throw you on an IP. And it's
Interesting.
just like this is an existing thing that'll already generate money because of the name.
Right.
You have new ideas, is what I heard. So put all those ideas into this property, and then next thing you know, someone's like, "Yeah, that really dramatic romantic comedy I had got me a job on Ninja Turtles." So here we are, and that's usually how it works. So then you get to the second part of the problem, which is how do you like who are you aiming for when you're taking a swing at the bat? Like what part of the stadium are you trying to hit this ball at? Because you're never going to please everyone. Because there is a big conversation as a creative that if I am just writing the same origin story to the Ninja Turtles, what are we doing here? Why am I? Why did you hire me? And it's going to make so many people unhappy to just kind of see the same thing again. While it'll make a ton of people who are just like, I'm just here to see the colors updated, and
Right.
and you're trying to figure out what's the margin to hit. While at the same time, like if you talk to the IP holders, they're the ones who are like making that tough decision. And like if you introduce something new, it is a 3-month conversation of constant meetings, PowerPoints, everything like this, just to be like, I think Raphael Sash should be a darker shade of red. And and that's usually the case. And so you go like piece by piece of just, but then you hit a point where you're just like, I have lived with these characters. Especially when you're writing it, you wake up, you start writing it, you go through many cups of coffee, you go through your entire day, you go into the night, you go to bed, you're dreaming about these characters, you wake up and you do the whole thing over again. So next thing you know, you're starting to think about the ideology of these characters. And you're just like at this place where you're just like, look, I've been living with these characters in my mind, and like I just suddenly accidentally discovered that Donatello is too strong of a Ninja Turtle. And the reason why is because he is a scientist and a ninja, and the rest of them don't have any other vocational skill. Usually,
Yeah.
because
Interesting. Yeah. Never thought of it that way.
I'm just coming up with the stuff on the spot right now. So as an
Yeah.
example, I'm not
Sure,
writing
sure.
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
And
Let's
so
let's not get that rumor out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Leonardo is into cross stitch. We don't know what he's doing on the side, or Michelangelo collects Funko Pops. We should see that side of them.
And then that's what the conversation you would be having with the IP owner and the investors and the production company as
Oh
to
my
be like,
gosh.
what if we talked about what the rest of the turtles actually did? What if we made them as useful as Donatello with the other skills they had on the side, and then we bring
Interesting.
out some brand new stories that can flourish and grow from this, and we get to see interesting things about them, and that creates a brand new series about the Ninja Turtles to bring them up to the level of that one turtle is special in this particular way, and it took this writer living in that space to figure that out. So when you
Mhm.
release it, now you're at a place where you're just like, I'm going to get a bunch of people who are just like, yo, this is cool. Like, I kind of like the idea of Michelangelo kind of getting into K-pop or something like that. And then, and then that takes it to another set of fans where Michelangelo's in K-pop. Hello, like since,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, like
You ruined my childhood.
exactly. Completely ignoring that the original versions exist. And
Yeah.
so
Right.
that is always the weird discussions when working heavily in television, because even if you bring something original, you will eventually end in a place where you're just like, I'm getting like hate mail for Michelangelo.
Wow.
And where I started was I wrote like a Shakespearean play.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very weird place.
So, how much autonomy do you have over writing um, screenplays? Like when you're in, like for American Gods, like how much autonomy did you have? Do you guys sit in a room, around a table, and you guys are all bumping ideas across the table, or
You're flipping
like,
pencils at each other.
yeah, like what do you guys?
Yeah,
How much
yeah.
autonomy
What does it
do you
look
guys
like in
Um,
there?
yeah, it's definitely so when you come in as a writer, like there's always for that particular show, it's a staff writer. In terms of roles, it's like staff writer, story editor, executive story editor, producer, director producer, executive producer, showrunners. And so I was way down here. And um, the goal of everyone that's under the showrunner is basically like the showrunner has a vision as to what the show is. Everyone already agreed to what that vision is. And what you're doing is you're filling in the gaps. You're providing the details. And for a show like American Gods, where there's tons and tons of characters, um, you need a ton of people in the room, especially in the specificity of that it is literally a show about how they all represent a different culture
Mm.
and what are the conversations that they all are having with each other about where these specific groups of people exist in this place while also dealing with it in a fantasy metaphysical space. So it's usually us kind of like gathering in a room and we're just like a general thing where it's like Shadow needs to punch the leprechaun in the face in the second act on this one. And then he gets absorbed into an ethereal creature in the third act. And those are the main things that are supposed to happen in episode three. So what you need to do is get us from A to B, fill in all the gaps as what the other characters are doing, make every scene matter for the entire season, and then you just kind of keep a flow going in between there while also keeping the dialogue to make sure all these characters feel exactly as they are and that they're making the correct decisions for themselves in the process. And it's tons and tons of us bouncing off of each other, hard work. Um, Legitimately, writers' room don't work unless everyone cares about each other. And when it doesn't,
Mhm.
you can feel it in the show. You can feel something's off on a show where you're just like, there's a different writer between episode 7 and episode 3 because you're not supposed to be able to tell.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of like in sync because you're still working to that one particular vision. But
Right.
it sometimes you do bump into those particular issues, and that's when it feels off. But that's usually the process. And when you're introducing something new, and you're at a lower level, it's way more fun at a lower level because you could come up with a cool idea, and everyone's like, "That's amazing! We got to put it in the show." And then everyone above you's got to do the work to figure out how it gets in there. You're just like, "Yeah, I got a system to that." You know, like, I'm gonna go play a video game when I get home. Meanwhile, the producer's like, "Oh God, that
How are we
brings
Can
going
us
to pay
afford
for this?
this.
Act Three." Yeah,
They're probably mad at you for bringing that idea.
yeah. By 2 a.m., yeah, they hate me. So,
That's awesome. I've always wondered, like, is there a, especially with a book like American Gods that has, a beginning, middle, and end that everybody knows, and you're probably going to mix up that a little bit. You were talking about filling in all the little gaps.
mhm.
Is there? Do you guys map out the entire season when you're writing, and fill in those gaps, and then they go shoot it? Or like if you get, let's, here's an example. If you get to episode, you filled in gaps, you get to episode 7, and you realize in writing, you haven't shot any of this yet. You realize back in episode 3 you should have set something up that this guy, I want to do this with this guy. Well, no, we didn't establish that this is his thing, whatever it is. We didn't establish that Leonardo knows how to cross stitch. We need to do that. And so you go back to, do you guys go back to episodes and like rewrite them like in the whole process so that you have a whole season, or how does that work? Or do they
uh,
start shooting right away? Like, when does that happen?
if you're, it all depends on if your showrunner is on track, and it also depends on if you're a network show.
Mm.
If you are on a network show, you have to be the best of the best writer to get out a good script. It personally, it takes me now a week as someone who writes every day. If we've worked on it, we have an idea of what the season's going to be, and we say what every episode is going to be about. Then you go to a micro level and you start outlining every scene that's going to be in that episode to reach what that story is going to be. And then once you have the outline of it, you just send it to the writer and you're like, go make it. And then you just keep sending in drafts of them correcting it. Like, I don't like what this character said here, do something better, blah, blah, blah. This doesn't make sense. Rewrite this, go. And then you bring back the next version. And everyone's kind of off doing that. And what you're doing is the room is still going of people rotating in and out of writing an episode and building the rest of the episodes in outline form. And if you're a good showrunner, that entire process is done before you go to shoot. If you stumble across of like, we lost this actor or this character or something like that, or like this character is broken, the season's not clicking anymore, you got to go back to rewrites, you have to go back to the beginning, send what you have to production, and we're like, just trust us, we're gonna figure it out in the writer's room while you guys are shooting. But editing may have to do a lot of work, like in case you have to rewrite from the first episode. And so if when people start saying things like we'll fix it in post, things are not going well. So
Yeah.
Wow.
it's really well. So yeah, that's usually so those are the emergency situations, but a lot of really great shows tend to like really work on their feet, really good on their toes, and a lot of shows are really like. So one of my favorite shows on television, because it is the weirdest thing I've ever seen, is Riverdale.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Yeah.
and what they do is like that's a lot of freestyling in there, where it's just
Sure.
like, you know what, season 2 we're gonna have 3 Colts,
Right.
three
It's like they
active
pick
Colts.
something out of a hat.
Yeah, but like
Just
they
like
picked the card Colt, and then they're like, all right, so what's the B plot? And someone picked Colt again, and they're like,
again.
you're not supposed to put the ticket back in the hat. And, like,
Yeah.
and they're like,
That's
you already
Exactly right.
picked it, we're just doing it. We're gonna do another Colt. All right,
Let's
what's
run
the
with it.
third thing?
Oh, it's him again.
Yeah. They're like,
Are these? Did all of these say cult? Who put this in here?
Who rigged this hat?
And then they did them all. They did all 3, and like a lot. And that is a show that is on a network, so they go through a really, really difficult time of like it's separate from streaming. Where if you're on a network, you are often writing stuff while you're watching other stuff air, and
Wow.
Mm.
That's what I wondered.
you're
Yeah.
yeah, and that is a nightmare I have not been a part of yet, because that will
Yeah.
be entirely nerve wracking. Like
Yeah.
if like once I finish a script, I never look at it. Like I'm just like, I've written for I can't announce it yet. It is
Are
going
you
to
sure you
be
can't? No, I'm just
like
kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Nobody
it-
listens to this podcast anyway. You're safe. So go ahead and tell. No, I'm just kidding.
it's a Netflix show that is going to be based on one of the biggest video game IP ever,
Oh
and
wow.
and everything's top secret right now.
So Tech
Netflix has the
Mobile.
same snipers as me,
I'm just,
so I will never. And
Yeah.
I'm NDA'd to death. And
Yeah.
they're actually watching this podcast now.
and like that was definitely the hardest show I've ever written for, because it has the game, that video game is so big and
Mm.
has so much history that to explain it would be I was making graphs for our entire room to explain that like
To explain
characters
everything and how it
popping
all
up over
connects.
later. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it turned into the Charlie Day board. And so I remember getting to the point where they're just like, all right, go write script, go write your episode. And I remember writing it, locking myself in my room for a week, and turned that script out, turned it in, and I was like, I'm never gonna play that video game.
You're not playing that game again.
I'm never touching it. I am just
You've had enough.
And it's going to be animated, right? It's an animated show.
It's going to be an anime. Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
very cool.
All right. So biggest game.
Anime.
Lots of lore, big world. I'm just writing these. I'm just writing these things down.
It's Pong. It's Pong, isn't it? We're finally getting Pong. The series.
No. I just asked
Pitfall
Siri.
Harry. That's what it is.
I just asked Siri, and she said Battletoads, so I'm excited.
Oh, I would watch the heck out of a Battletoads show. That most recent game was so funny. It could.
There was one, but
The first episode
yeah,
is all about the
there
Jetsons.
was one back in the. I think there was one like way back, right? Like when the first one. But the new game has like they've totally revamped the Battletoads.
There's a save function on the new game.
Yes, because
Which is
oh my
cheating.
gosh, yeah.
That's
Shut up. No, it's
remember-
enjoying yourself. It's not torturing yourself. That's what it is.
I remember a TV show because it was part of the anthropomorphic animal invasion.
Yeah, there's so
Of the
many.
90s. It was
Yep.
like everybody wanted their own Ninja Turtles, so it was like,
Yep.
Samurai Pizza Cats, Biker Mice from Mars, Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys, Muns Alive, Cowboys and Moo Mesa, the Street Sharks.
Just all of it.
It was crazy. I would like to see that. I would like to see a resurgence of that. That would be kind of fun, right?
Come on, Street Shark.
What else can we anthropomorphize in the 2020 era?
Crisis on
Viruses.
Infinite Anthropomorphia.
Yeah, there you go.
Totally. That's a whole genre in itself.
We may have just come up with something.
We're gonna have to write that down. So Mellow, what's it like? How different is it writing for these TV shows that you've done compared to what you're doing? And I'm going to say the amazing work that you're doing with Blade Runner Origins, because I love the direction that you and NK are taking it. I love the fact that we're seeing the beginnings of this. I also love the fact that there's diversity in the origins of Blade Runner, which I appreciate. so how different of an experience is it to go?
It is definitely so as I was describing all those positions and how the number one position was showrunner. For this particular project, that is definitely the role that we've taken in the process for this. So it's actually, believe it or not, harder in a lot of ways than writing for television. You are in a place where what may be the most important part of the franchise, they decided you're responsible for this now. How that happened, okay. I do not know.
Who entrusted me with this?
Those fools.
Right.
And in the process of writing it and what you're doing, you're realizing like I could either write more Blade Runner, which is what was initially requested. It's the same thing as like what I'm guessing J.J. Abrams had a conversation about when making The Force Awakens. It's like, just make more Blade Runner first.
Right.
And sprinkle in the things that you like, that you would like to see in here. And we'll see if it's a success. And so volume 1 is definitely that. And it is definitely leaning more into, like, we're having these smaller conversations while it's still LA and things like that. And it's specifically very, very much more Blade Runner, as if I was writing a Blade Runner TV show. And as that became more successful, we started having more conversations with people who are just like, we really like the weird places that you're going with this, or the conversations that you're having about identity and the way people exist here, and like in a sense that police brutality is what 100% what makes up Blade Runners, and you're hinting at that in a lot of places. And then I have like a really difficult conversation with them where I'm like, hey, while you guys are here, can we talk about that? You can't talk about identity and bodies in the future without talking about the trans community.
Mm.
And can we also talk about how Blade Runner is built out of xenophobia in the 80s?
Hmm.
And then can we also talk about how basically women do really bad in Blade Runner? Like, and we
Yeah.
and can we also talk about number one, which should probably have been the first thing I mentioned, Blade Runners are slave catchers, and
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and they're like, we'll get back to you. It's usually what it is.
Wow.
And so you hit that place where it's just like, if you want to talk about these things, you have to make it entertaining. You have to write better than my mentor Michael Green. You have to write better
Mm.
than Ridley Scott. You have to
Mhm.
write at a capacity where you're going to be lying in like a pool of sweat on the floor because you wrote harder than you've ever written in your life.
Mm.
And then you have to present it to them, and you're like, I think what I feel at this moment is that this could be the best thing I've ever written. And it could be one of the best stories ever in this franchise if you're willing to take a risk. But the risk is not going to be that hard because I promise you, it's really, really good. And then they read it and you cross their fingers that they agree. And then if they agree, it's usually due to the fact of like, it's not always because they want to, they're like in a rush to say those things because they know the problems that come with it. They're
Right.
going to feel the backlash themselves directly, even before I do.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And if they read it and they're like, this is what we need, then yeah, you are allowed to go forward with these stories. But at the same time, you're going to be working harder than you ever had in your life. And the same thing goes for our artists, Fernando Magno, Marco
Hmm.
Lesko. They
The
are,
art is great. Was since you mentioned
yeah,
it, like
Mhm.
it's I love it. Like it's there's so many different styles in comics right now. And this is kind of it's a very kind of old school kind of style mixed with like an you know what I mean with like the new I don't know it seems perfect for that world. I really enjoy the art a lot.
oh, thank you. Yeah, like I definitely will pass that along because they work so hard, especially because where the story is right now, there is now a war. And
Right.
we recently just wrapped up a 22-page battle royale between four characters. And that was something we had built up to for 6 issues of us. Like, that was I was like, I'm going to talk about a lot of the stuff that needs to be talked about to progress this franchise into the future.
Hmm.
But to put syrup on these very like nutritional pancakes I'm about to feed you. What if I told you that we have a battle royale in Blade Runner? And what if I also told you that the rest of these issues we're going to take Cyberpunk and then put it into Grindhouse? And they were like, "All right,
Oh.
get out of here! Don't do it! Get
Sold.
out of
Yeah.
Sold.
here!"
Give me
And
those pancakes with that syrup.
yeah, and they're like, you know what? The syrup tastes a lot better. so, um, and so that puts them in a place where like this is really exciting for the franchise, and it makes it also important that you have to make it good because now it is all canon.
Yeah.
The story that
Right.
we're currently doing it leads up to Ridley Scott's movie. None of that movie happens without the story that we're currently writing right now, and
Interesting.
where it ends up is the most shocking place where it is going to have a twist that will recontextualize the movies in a way that I am already closing my DMs in private. It,
You preemptively just
Shut it off.
cutting it all
I
off.
I don't want people going up to Harrison Ford and asking him about what we just did to the Blade Runner franchise. It'll come in issue number 12.
12.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's going to rock a lot of people. It's going to definitely put a lot of
Oh.
jaws on the floor. And it is the thing where I was just like, and it. I don't want to give it away too much, but I will definitely say the thing that I approached them with that definitely was what triggered all these conversations was that because Blade Runners are slave catchers, no one in their right mind is going to root for the Blade Runners within the rest of these stories where you're in a
Mhm.
place, and we kind of see that in the anime where they are trapped only talking about the perspective of replicants because it is so much easier because like they're not punching down
Hmm.
Like in the Blade Runner stories, you're following a really horrible person, and you're following this noir story of them being like, are we the baddies by the end of it usually?
Mm.
And I was just like, I can fix that forever for the franchise if you allow me to do it. And they were like, yeah, go. And when I pitched them what it was, they were like, oh boy. And they thought about it for a while, and they were just like, okay, we're going to take this really huge leap, and this is what Blade Runner is going to be about from here on out. So I am absolutely, I'm honored that they let me do it, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't wait.
that's
How much, if any, is Ridley Scott still like a part of any of this? Like, does he still own some of the IP? Is this, you know what I mean? Like, does he have any influence over the story, or is it just like out of his hands at this point? I don't know anything about how that
it,
works.
it's one of those creative suggestions always kind of rules everything. Where if he were to jump in and said like, I am still interested in doing Blade Runner stuff, so fire that Mellow guy, be out the door.
Sure.
But he has actually most recently, as a lot of people have seen on the news, has been very active within the Blade Runner 2099 series coming to Amazon.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
That one takes place 100 years in the future, which was a big sigh of relief. I'm like, oh, thank God, he won't want to talk to me about
He's
anything.
not going the other way.
Yeah, he's like, he don't want to talk about anything I'm doing. That's so good. But but even for what happens in the future, issue 12 coming up is going to affect it, and it's
Oh, I
going
can't
to
wait.
affect everything forever. So
I can't wait.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
That's
already on my
cool.
pull list, so I can't wait. Oh,
Crazy
it's been so
stuff,
good.
man.
It's been so good, so good.
thank you.
Just coming from a personal point, I've known you for quite a while now, and to see your journey from where we met to where you are now just fills me with pride. It's inspiring. I'm so excited and happy for you and proud of you. It's just it always brings a smile to my face thinking about where you are and where you've been. So
But likewise, sir. Like I've always seen like how much work you put in, and like everything you do for like just in charity to so many communities, and even this podcast itself. Proud of you too.
thank you. I sorry,
Awesome.
I got sappy. I'm sorry.
No, that's great. Well, we actually are coming up on time, and so I want to first of all thank you, Mello, for being here. It was absolutely a pleasure talking to you. I mean I could keep geeking out for another hour and I still have lots more questions, so we may have you come back maybe after this big reveal, maybe in our or our third season when we start that after the summer. We'll
Positive. There you go.
talk about what happened. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
you can yell at me live. Yeah.
No. I respect the creative process. People are do stuff. I am not one of those people who's like. I mean, I might not agree with what a story where somebody took a story that is beloved to me, but that's okay. Whatever you know what I mean. Like as a creative person, I've got 100 ideas of how I think it should have gone. I had half a screenplay written for what became Revenge of the Sith. So it was after Attack of the Clones. We were anticipating what was coming next. I had some great ideas, and someday I'll share them on the show. Utah knows one of the ideas that I had would have been one of the most epic scenes in Star Wars ever, but nobody listens to me. No, I'm just kidding. So I
didn't
get
listen
that.
to
You know what I
told
mean?
me the first time. I'm just
Yeah. So everybody's doing something different, and like I said, my thing is if you're going to take something I love, just do something cool with it. Like I just make it cool. Like as long as I was a big fan of the books, Dexter books. The show is actually 1,000 times better than the books.
yeah, and completely.
Yeah. So they took the books and went in another direction, and I'm just like, whoa, like this is great. So yeah, sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't. But you know, you're not ruining my childhood. I mean, I had a great time watching those movies when I was a kid. So it is what it is, right?
I hate that argument so much. It's like, what do you mean all your copies of the original Ghostbusters movie just disappear and went poof?
Right.
No,
Yeah,
you can
the
still
minute
watch
that
that.
you buy the ticket, yeah, that's how it works.
Right?
Yeah.
No, you can still watch it. That's a
too
whole
funny.
other episode.
Sure is. Well, thanks again for being here. Like I said, if you're amenable to it, we'd love to have you back after this big, especially after the big twist. So we'll have some time to let it percolate, and then we'll see you in the fall or something when we come back. But thanks to Utah and Aaliyah for being here as always. I do want to thank remind people
for our listeners, because they don't see me waving, so I have to.
Right, this has become a tradition.
An audio wave.
I'm the only one who doesn't wave, though. I don't wave. I'm not waving
because you don't say it.
But no,
I want to wave to you.
Want to give everybody one more reminder about St. Baldrick's. If it's on your heart to help out, great. We'd love it. Again, we've got the show notes with all of the information. So we're going to be. I'm not going to do that. I wanted to make sure I tell people about next week. That was started to do the. So next week is exciting. So Mellow, we've been doing some writing actually. So we're trying to become writers ourselves.
He's like, have we?
Have you started yet, Utah?
No. It's a short story.
I have. Yeah. It's all right.
So that's hilarious.
But that topic is option 1. So
yeah. So we have our good friends at Promptly Written Podcast. They do prompts based on their listeners on their Facebook page, and then they write a short story. They read it on the show. They discuss the process of how they come up with the idea. All this. It's really cool. If you're into writing, or if you're just into good stories, you can listen to that. But if you're also into writing, it's really cool to just kind of that dialogue. It's just like how they went through the process. And that's Matt Shigerick, which is a good friend of ours, and then Ian Lewis, who has written a bunch of books and is doing this show now. They're good friends of the show. We decided we're going to do a massive podcast crossover. So we're going to have a crossover. It's the Infinity War of World Gun Geek. No, it's not going to be that.
Welcome to the World Gun Geek cinematic universe.
Exactly. But yeah, so what's going to happen is you're going to have to listen to both episodes. So you're going to have to listen to their show and our show to kind of get all of the stuff. So their show is going to come out on the 6th or 7th of March. I forget when he said that's going to, it's a day after ours. So next Sunday, March 6th, Matt's probably listening to this going, dude, like we talked about this. How many times did I, in our group chat, how many times did I keep asking him, when is this happening again?
Thanks for caring so much as to remembering when.
I know that ours is March 6th. We're going to go record his show on Tuesday night. I know we're recording their show Tuesday. On their show, we're going to hear their stories. We're all going to discuss them. We're also going to discuss the book, The Demolished Man by Alfred Bester, which I thought was really great. So we'll kind of all decide how we feel about that book. And then we will
start reading that too.
You haven't read that yet? Utah.
Me neither.
Come on, guys. It's Tuesday.
I'm doing the Audible. I can just listen to it on a
There you go. Yeah. At least get the Cliff's Notes or something, right? And then or it's not even Cliff's anymore. It's somebody else now, I think, is another.
Oh, really? Wow.
I don't know.
Kids today will never know.
Exactly. They sure won't. And then if you watch us next Sunday, we will do our stories on that show, and Matt and Ian will be here with us to talk about our stories. So I finished my story, but it needs a rewrite. Like it needs some work still, but I finished it. Like this is one of the things that was so great. I love to write.
You're the writer.
I haven't written in years. It just hasn't had time. And so really enjoy the fact that this is happening because it's really, it got me back into it. I finished something. It's about 3,000 words. We were supposed to do 2,000.
Hold on a second.
No, he said, well, his longest has been 4,000. So we've got some wiggle room. But yeah.
Like a poem.
I think listen, 100%. I think if that's who you are, if that's how you like create, and it fits the prompt, that's what you should do. 100%.
great.
Yeah.
I'm doing an interpretive dance.
I was gonna say Utah's doing a ukulele ballad about.
I hadn't thought of that. I should write a song.
Great. That would be great.
Now that I've just said that, people are going to expect that next week, Utah. So you better be ready.
I have to do double duty. We'll see.
I guess so. But I'm really excited about the opportunity to write again. It's really put the bug back in me. So I'm hopefully that will continue as a creative outlet. But yeah, join us on that show. The prompt, as Aaliyah said. So when you're creating a poll in Facebook, it automatically populates with option 1, 2, 3 kind of thing, right? That you can fill in. Well, somehow Matt fat-fingered as he was creating the poll and left option 1, the words option 1 as one of the options to vote for. And then other people wrote some in, and then people started voting. Well, guess which one won? Option 1. So that's the prompt. Option 1. So we'll have to see where everybody goes with that. I think it's going to be interesting. But
my first draft was basically the voicemail maze that you call in the customer service.
I started there. I started there as well. Where I ended up, though, that was my original idea, was something like that, but it was going to end up being some kind of weird thing would happen, and it was
he reads Stephen King, so
yeah, it was definitely going to be a Stephen King type thing. Instead, I went in a direction I don't think anybody's expecting. So I think I'm the only one who went this direction.
Okay. That's because you're the only one that's wrote.
Matt and Ian Matt might still be working on his. He said he's a procrastinator right up to the last minute. He might be finishing.
We are all procrastinators.
I am too. Yeah, definitely. This is the earliest I've ever been done with something, but I still have to revise.
We're not going over our stories until
March 6th. We're doing it live on the show. Yeah. So Tuesday night we don't have to have it ready. No, they have to be ready by Tuesday when we record. But anyway, so March 6th we'll do the show live right here with them. There'll be guests. We'll drop it as a podcast the next day, and then I think it's like I don't know when it's like the day after or something was when he drops his.
Add the date and post, Jeff.
I will.
Be on March 2nd.
Yeah, I'll just record. Anyway, it's been a great. So that's what's happening next week. I wanted to make sure everybody knew. And now I can play this music so that we can go out. I do want to thank again Mellow for being here. We want you guys to follow us on all of the socials. We'll have Mellow's socials in the show notes as well, so that you can follow him and find out what this secret Netflix project is when it finally is revealed. We thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a great one.